back home, the House will vote today on a resolution to censure GOP Congressman Paul Gosar after he tweeted a violent cartoon video. It appears to show him attacking President Biden and also killing Democratic Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. The resolution, if passed, would also strip Gosar of his committee assignments. The Arizona Republican has removed the video and issued a statement saying he does not support violence. For more on this, let's bring in CBS News political contributor Molly Hooper. So he did issue a statement, Molly, about that, saying that he doesn't condemn violence. But has he apologized to Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez or to the president?
Well, from what we know, he has not done that yet. According to Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, she has not heard a personal apology from the congressman, nor has President Biden. So, if you don't condone violence, it makes it a little bit difficult if you don't then apologize to the people who you've singled out in this kind of video. That privately, a lot of Republicans were sort of shaking their heads about. But when it comes to what happens later today on the House floor, that may very well be a different matter.
Well, let us talk about that. Last night's vote to bring forward the censure motion before the full chamber went mostly along party lines in a 9-4 vote. So what do we expect today? Probably more of the same, I would assume.
Yes, I mean, I think that the Republican Party in and of itself is having some difficulties. We've been focusing a lot on the Democratic disagreements over the president's agenda and this massive bill, trillion-dollar bill that he's putting forward. But sort of behind the scenes and separately on a different track, Republicans themselves have still been engaging in a lot of infighting over issues like this. Individuals who support the former President Trump a lot, and are trying to show that support in some ways, who disagree with other members in the caucus who want to essentially move forward and win next year's midterm elections without having to deal with issues like this. And as it stands, Republicans and Democrats, when something happens to a member in their respective caucuses, they like to deal with it on their own. It's sort of this new action that the full House is taking, first against Marjorie Taylor Greene earlier this year, and now against Paul Gosar in terms of the censure and removing him from his committee assignments that Republicans are not necessarily in favor of. They'd like to self-regulate, so to speak, or punish their own members and remove that person from the committee themselves, as opposed to taking it to the whole House. But I think that we will see pretty much a party line vote, with the exception of Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger, those two Republicans who've sort of bucked their party in major ways this past year, and are known primarily today for sitting on the Select Committee on January 6th, the one that no other Republicans would sit on because they were upset when Speaker Pelosi said that she wouldn't approve the names put forward originally. So here we are at this matter, yet again, with the full House voting to remove a Republican from his committee assignment, and with the added censure vote, it's sure to make for some, let's say, I would say enlightening viewing, but it definitely will be lively.
So let me make sure I get this straight, Molly and Anne-Marie, and you can help explain this to our audience. They are not sure, we're not sure that they may even censure Congressman Gosar for the video that he posted on his social media showing the execution of a sitting member of Congress and threatening violence against the President of the United States. But they are, Kevin McCarthy and other Republicans like Marjorie Taylor Greene, are trying to get those members of Congress who are Republicans who voted for the bipartisan infrastructure bill. Again, bipartisan infrastructure bill that passed overwhelmingly in the United States Senate, which, by the way, President Trump also tried to get across the finish line and was unable to do so. In other words, President Trump himself would have loved to have gotten a bipartisan infrastructure bill passed when he was president of the United States. Remember, every month we would hear it's infrastructure week, right? But those members of Congress, those Republicans who voted for that bill to help their constituents, are in danger of something, and Representative Gosar is not. Do I have that straight?
What a strange world we live in right now, Vlad. It's pretty much yes. And again, this really speaks to not necessarily what Republicans themselves feel like on Capitol Hill, but what they're hearing from their constituents back home, and that's why these are very tricky. This is a very tricky situation that Minority Leader McCarthy finds himself in, because on the one hand, he needs to sort of handle the folks in the Freedom Caucus, so to speak, the individuals who are pressing for their colleagues who voted for the infrastructure bill to be removed from committee assignments, or at least demoted from their current positions as, say, the top-ranking Republican on those committees, and dealing with others in his party who are saying, hey, look, what Congressman Gosar did was unacceptable. And, we can't stand for this. And so, I mean, if you think back to a few years ago when then Speaker John Boehner was in charge of that raucous caucus, you could see why he had some problems, because the interests, the ideologies in that caucus are so divided almost in terms of even just tactics and what's acceptable and unacceptable, that it's a very difficult line for Kevin McCarthy to sort of to walk, and which is why it will be fascinating to watch him over these next few days, see how he's going to deal with those members, dealing with the members who want to remove fellow Republicans, like we said, from committee assignments for voting for an infrastructure bill. The one thing Kevin McCarthy has always said since he became a member of Congress is, first you vote your district. And there's a lot of districts, well, I mean, there are districts like John Katko's in New York State who wanted that infrastructure bill and demanded it. And if you're the member representing that district, you're going to vote for that. And there's others, in the Freedom Caucus who are saying that's unacceptable and that person needs to be demoted from his position as ranking member. So it's a tough time to be involved in this raucous caucus, you could say, the Republicans, and right, and we'll see how it plays out. But it is a very these are very sensitive matters, and just how he handles it will be really important to his future if the Republicans do in fact take the majority come next midterms elections, and Kevin McCarthy runs for Speaker. He has run for Speaker before, and he was not successful that time. And when you're trying to manage all these different personalities in your conference, at some point you have to say, listen, enough is enough. This is wrong, this is right, this is what we're doing, and really lead. And it's unclear how McCarthy is doing that.
Before we move on to another topic, just a point of clarification. Gosar says that it was his staff that posted the video, not him, and he abhors violence. But as both of you guys pointed out, he did not apologize for it, and in particular, he did not apologize to the people that he is depicted slaughtering in the video. So, on to another topic. The January 6th committee is still considering whether to pursue another criminal contempt referral against former White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows, who, like Steve Bannon, has refused to comply with a subpoena from the committee, refused to come forward with documents. They're giving him a little extra time to reconsider. Maybe they're hoping that after watching Steve Bannon walk into a courtroom, he might change his mind. But where do things stand right now?
Well, I think that's what's going on. He's reconsidering. But even if he does agree to go in to sit in front of the committee behind closed doors, that doesn't mean that he's necessarily going to answer any of their questions. We saw that with a recent witness, a former DOJ official who came before the committee and basically said, "I can't answer these questions; they're privileged." So technically, he went to sit before the committee, but he didn't say anything. And Mark Meadows is probably, he is reconsidering, but, again, these are all very difficult positions to put these leaders in, because, they're still contending with former President Trump, who carries an outsized influence on the Republican Party. And if the former president is still reconsidering running for election or re-election in 2024, that's something that is definitely difficult to face. And so again, it's going to be fascinating to see how this plays out. And my sources just don't know, but they do point to the fact that Steve Bannon was indicted, and if Mark Meadows refuses to comply, well, that could be his fate as well.
Indeed. Molly, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.